Good evening. With me is my dear friend Daniel Steinberg. He's from Panama. He'll be discussing and explaining for us the kosher lifestyle. So, Daniel, to begin with, what does it mean for you to be kosher?
Uh, Say for me, being kosher is very important. Um, Generally, I follow what the Bible says and try to follow the strict conditions of a kosher lifestyle. First of all, I want food. I only eat food that is supervised by magias, meaning that they are only they spare the animal in a very unharmful way, in a way that they don't suffer that much, meaning that they don't suffer when they die.
Okay, and that's for the food part or the meat.
Yes.
Let's talk about vegetables. Can vegetables be kosher and fruits?
Yeah, vegetables and fruits can also be kosher.
Okay. How about let's say drinks like juices, wines, and all the juice category?
Wine cannot be kosher. I can only drink wine that is kosher, but other alcoholic beverages such as vodka or whiskey, I can drink. Anything that is alcoholic that is not wine, I can drink.
Okay, how about let's say apple juice or orange juice, Tropicana orange juice from one of the supermarkets like down the road? Is that considered kosher or?
Those are perfectly fine for my religion. Kosher.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, the second question is, since when have you started being kosher or adopted the kosher lifestyle into your daily routine?
So say my family is not very religious to say. All my life we always indulge in going restaurants outside the city or venues in Panama that could offer a wide variety of foods, not necessarily kosher. But 2 years ago, I started having this mindset, this goal to become a strict kosher. It just came to me. I felt that since I was Jewish, I'll have to do my part to God and to basically the Jewish society to become a responsible Jewish. So I said, maybe I'll become kosher. At first, it was a bit hard to adopt this lifestyle, but 2 or 3 weeks passed and it was part of my usual routine. I didn't struggle a lot. Of course, there's a lot of restrictions. There's a lot of foods that I still miss, but I like it.
Oh, okay. So, from what I understood, like previously before the interview, you've told me that you've attended a kosher school or a Hebrew school. So, do you think in some way this you attending that specific school has helped you become more of a strict kosher, or no? What do you think?
That's an excellent point, Said. Well, my middle school was not. So going back to my school. So basically, my elementary school and my middle school, say, they were not very religious. But when I got into high school, the administrators really emphasized Jewish ways, traditional Jewish ways, which involved obviously the kosher methods and also practicing Sabbath strictly. And this, I think, really made me the person that I am today. Because if I would have gone to a less strict Jewish school, I think that my parents' influence, that are not very religious, and my not too caring about religion would not have would make me be more like them, but they're not very religious. But since I went to this school that we practice every day all the Jewish implications, I believe that it has really affected my path as a Jew.
So, what you're saying is that the school helped you become more of a stricter kosher, well, a stricter and your kosher lifestyle. My other question is, your friends, were they all very strict kosher followers, or some of them were liberal and didn't do kosher lifestyle?
Well, let's say of all religions, there's people. people get affected by their own beliefs. Of course, some of them adopted this lifestyle like me, but others really were not that interested. They were interested in the religion, but really just neglected the strict lifestyle because it's pretty hard. We're going through our teenage years right now, so it's the time to either you stick with it or you don't stick with it. A lot of people, like in other religions, they didn't stick to it, but me and my closest friends are very strictly Jewish.
My next question also revolves around purchasing kosher products. Now, I'm familiar that in Panama, the kosher or the Jewish population might be much higher than the ones we've got here in Boston. So, since you're an international student from Panama, which has a large Jewish community, and you've now moved to Boston, do you find that since the Jewish population is much smaller here in Boston, is it more difficult for you to find kosher products? Do you have difficulty attaining any of the required kosher products, kosher material, any of anything that falls under the kosher lifestyle?
Well, that's an excellent question, Said. Since in my old community, the Jewish population was more concentrated or condensed into a small area, or they all lived in the same neighborhood. So next to me were all these convenience stores and shops, markets that you can find easily any Jewish product, kosher. Here in Boston, it's quite different. There is a lot of Jews, like, but it's more scattered since we're living in the city. There's more. It's more difficult to find Jewish markets, but thankfully, in Tremont Street, right down the corner from Sargent Hall Law School, there's a very good Jewish convenience market where I can find. There's a Jewish market store. So this market in Tremont has everything you can ask for at in the Jewish for the Jewish standard. In my room, if the cafeteria doesn't offer the required food, I can always cook my own food in my microwave. Because it's tough. The cafeteria doesn't. It does. They make some of the products kosher, but some of them are not. So it's been quite a struggle, but I've managed to go through it, and I think I've prevailed.
Um, you were telling me about this cafe down by Milk Street. I think it was called Milk Street Cafe. It sells purely kosher products. Do you know any other stores around the area that sell kosher products? I'm not quite sure. Can you correct me or like tell me if there's one in Brookline?
Oh yeah, excellent point, Said. Basically, since I don't think about living in campus next semester, I was thinking about getting my apartment next to this Milk Street venue. And if it was not the Milk Street venue, I'll go to Brookline because it's more accessible. From where I live in 10 Somerset Street, it's quite far to get to the shops. It's quite a hassle to carry all these products to my home and to cook them here.
Yeah, and especially taking the train to Brookline, it's such a long journey from
exactly,
downtown.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, we with my realtor, we've been looking at some venues next or close to them to those places, so it's easier for me to cook.
Okay. After talking about buying and purchasing kosher products, one question came up to my mind. Since I know being kosher can either be kosher of dairy or kosher of meat, or you can choose to be kosher of both. What sort of kosher lifestyle do you live in particular?
Basically, since 2 years ago, I decided to go full on kosher, meaning the dairies and the meats they have to be kosher. If they're not kosher, then it's not an option to eat them. So I go full on this, and it's very difficult to find them because sometimes, and you don't know what they're serving, because if you go to any regular restaurant, for so to say the Cheesecake Factory or maybe P.F. Chang's, they might have some kosher implications, but you don't really know if they're telling the truth. So I try to cook my own food, but getting back to the point, yes, I am a
Yes.
dairy and meat kosher.
Okay. So being kosher of both meat and dairy, can you emphasize more about how kosher the eating meat that is kosher can differ from the meat that is not kosher? Can you explain like
Yeah, that's an
a
excellent
little more?
point. So basically, in other religions, they don't really care about the method they kill the animal with. Like sometimes they shoot it, sometimes they cut their throat if it's a chicken. In kosher, they usually kill the animal with a very fine blade, that enables the animal not to suffer as much as it can potentially suffer with other methods that other religions don't imply.
Okay, so this knife or
Blade.
this blade that they use, it's so they chop the neck off and allow the blood to go out of the vein. So it's so
It all depends on the animal.
okay.
So basically, smaller animals, where the neck is smaller, they do chop. So going back to the knife, the killing instrument of these animals, which you can use for cows, for sheep, for lambs, for goats, for ducks, for chickens, and for other animals. What they do, I know this is a dog, but I just want to show the method. They go with the knife, and this is not gonna show any blood. Obviously, this is fake. So what they do is they go with the knife that is very sharp. You don't feel a thing, and go directly to the bottom of the skull, where the neck connects with the skull, and they go so that the animal doesn't suffer. It dies instantly with no pain.
Oh, okay. Okay, coming up to the next question. Since you've already told me about you not being kosher at a younger age and now being fully kosher, what experience have you faced, or do you actually think living a kosher lifestyle has been a more effective, better life, or do you think your lifestyle hasn't changed much since you've become kosher?
We'll say that's a that's a very interesting point, because it is actually very different. When I was not kosher completely, my life was more liberal. It allowed me to do more things. I could eat what I want, virtually behave the way I wanted to, and now I'm a little bit more controlled. Every Friday at 5:18, I have to turn off my cell phone, or I cannot use any electrical device.
Oh, what is that called again? Shabbat Shalom?
Shabbat, Sabbath
Sabbath,
in
okay.
English, but in Spanish it's Shabbat. And since I'm from Spaniard descent, I call it Shabbat.
So can you tell us more about the Shabbat thing? What do you do?
Well, basically, when we're in Shabbat, we pray a lot. We're always praying, and when we're not praying, we're eating. It sometimes gets, I wouldn't say boring, because there's a lot of friends there that are like me, exactly like me. Like they eat what I want to eat, and they pray with me. Like, and it's sometimes funny. Like if I forget like a line in a prayer, like they sometimes like help me and like help me remember it. I know it's a little bit funny, but it's like the way it is. It's a very unified community. Like
Oh yeah. So But do you pray alone or with the rabbi or?
Yes. There's this there's this kind of rabbi. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry, I cannot recall the name right now. But they attend. They can help you. And in this community, like we hired, since we are all students, we hired this guy that comes with us, and he helps us pray and like we. I know this is not important. We sometimes sing like religious songs and things just to entertain ourselves. But that's like it's like the sometimes we indulge in some beverage, like sometimes we drink, but that's not important. Yeah.
You drink with the rabbi?
I know it's funny, but no, the rabbi doesn't drink. Like he. Don't laugh! Don't laugh! Don't laugh! Don't laugh!
Yeah, so the rabbi attends this mass or the prayer, and he indulges in a beverage. He drinks like some sort of like kosher wine with the students.
Yeah.
What else do you do on that specific day?
So this is the most peculiar part of it. We cannot invoke or use any kind of electrical product. So shout out to my friend Thomas Edison and to my friend Benjamin Franklin, who virtually created light and electricity. We cannot use their products, and basically, even when I'm walking, I cannot go into a elevator. Someone has to click the elevator for me. Like we can use electricity, but I cannot provoke it. People have to click it for me.
One incident that I remember seeing actually when I was with you, you were late on going to that meeting for the Sabbath thing, and you had to take the elevator because you live on the 15th floor. So I think it was 5 already, or the time that you had to start that Sabbath thing. So you couldn't take the elevator, so you had to take the stairs up to the 15th floor. So are you that like focused on that?
Yeah, it's
that
very.
thing?
And if you get it late, it's very bad. The rabbi gets mad.
Okay. Yeah, so the rabbi attends this mass or the prayer, and he indulges in a beverage. He drinks like some sort of like kosher wine with the students.
Yeah.
What else do you do on that specific day?
So this is the most peculiar part of it. We cannot invoke or use any kind of electrical product. So shout out to my friend Thomas Edison and to my friend Benjamin Franklin, who virtually created light and electricity. We cannot use their products, and basically, even when I'm walking, I cannot go into a elevator. Someone has to click the elevator for me. Like we can use electricity, but I cannot provoke it. People have to click it for me.
One incident that I remember seeing actually when I was with you, you were late on going to that meeting for the Sabbath thing, and you had to take the elevator because you live on the 15th floor. So I think it was 5 already, or the time that you had to start that Sabbath thing. So you couldn't take the elevator, so you had to take the stairs up to the 15th floor. So are you that like focused on that?
Yeah, and it's
that
very.
thing?
And if you get it late, it's very bad. The rabbi gets mad.
Okay. Now for the final question. As I was doing questions, writing them down, one question came up to my mind. So, do you ever think that you'll go back to your old lifestyle of not being kosher and consuming like any sort of wine around, going back to a lifestyle of not caring about the strict Jewish values and the strict Jewish lifestyle? What do you think?
That's a very tough question to answer, but I think that someday I'll go back to regular, because kosher is a very demanding thing. No, it's an accomplishment too that I've lasted almost 3 years having this kosher lifestyle. But as I get older, looking for a wife maybe, there's a lot of implications. There is kosher sex, but it's quite different. Like there's a lot of restrictions to marriage and to things like that. Basically, coming up into this world, this new world that's becoming more liberal. And I want to raise my children in a religious background, with a religious background, but I also want them to have liberty to choose for themselves what to believe. Someday. That's why I don't want to force them to be so strictly Jewish, strictly kosher. So I think I'm gonna go back, but I think eventually I'm gonna turn back to kosher when I'm like maybe 43 years old or 56.
Well, okay. So that concludes our interview with my dear friend Daniel. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, do you want to try some kosher food in my refrigerator?
Yeah, I'll try it later. Anyway, see you.